Salute.
So let's take care of it. And then
Derek Williams.
Let's drop. I'll put some more in the account. That's right. I love you.
Definitely use a little bit of spice.
Yeah, so I really want to start, but I make it something to do with me.
Just give it a shot.
Hold on.
You know what? I'm gonna hit up, but if it go.
After all is said and done,
What's up, folks? It's 10:26. It's almost 10:30 in the morning, and already it's 97 degrees in the valley. Shit's wild, man. As you can see, there's a little bit of spraying they did. They dispersed all the clouds, and now you can see the remnants of these fake ass formations. Yeah, 97 degrees already at 10:30. Anyway, it was good, y'all. So, no sooner than I'll talk to you guys about how they're using children. They're using children to create emotionalism in the masses. They're using children. That I find out that in the UK, United Kingdom, they have been apparently in schools they have been teaching kids how to touch themselves. Yeah, you heard me. They're teaching children, school age, as young as 6 years old, how to touch themselves in school in the UK. There's always been a lot of questionable things about the UK that they've been doing in regards to sex ed and all that shit. But this is ridiculous. Why are they trying to teach 6-year-old children how to touch themselves? Well, I have a theory behind that. I believe that they're teaching them how to touch themselves so that they can become comfortable with being touched, period. So that when they pass legislation to allow grown-ass men and women to start having sexual relationships with children, which there is no relationship, there can be no relationship, but when they lower their age of consent in the UK, it's already 16 years old. So when they try to lower it to like 12, 13, 11 years old, the children will already be accustomed to having their nether regions touched for pleasure purposes. This is very sick. This is what I see. There's no reason that a child should be learning how to touch themselves in a sexual way at 6 years old, at 7 years old, at 8 years old, at 9 years old. Not only that, but a damn show shouldn't be happening in the schools. The schools should not be teaching children how to touch themselves and be sexual. That is not up to them. It's not up to the schools to teach our children about that shit. But here you have it. In the UK, they're starting to teach children that bullshit. Snapshotty was good. So my question is, when the parents found out, the parents didn't even know this shit. When the parents found out, they were pissed. Okay? But this is what happens when you allow someone else to take charge of your children for any period of the day. If you're not in complete control of what your children are learning, then this is the type of shit that'll happen. Teachers teaching children. If you're just getting in here, they are teaching children in the UK how to touch themselves sexually as young as 6 years old. So my question would be, how are you teaching them this? What type of demonstrations are you putting on? How are you demonstrating? Are you touching the child yourself? Are you taking that child's hand and making them touch? How are you demonstrating this bullshit? What level of pedophilia is occurring in these classrooms when they're teaching that shit? I have no idea. I can only speculate, and that's the problem. That's the problem. But thankfully, parents are being outraged by this. See, what needs to happen is, see, if you look at it, right? Now, you can be angry. You can let emotion control you. And then you can talk to the school and try to rationalize with them through emotion. It's not going to work. All they're going to say is, all the UK has to do, the UK government, the parliament, all they have to do is pass legislation that would allow this to happen. And they probably already did. There's probably already legislation in the UK that allows the schools to teach children sexual shit. So what is the option? The option is not to allow your children, what my option would be. I would not allow my children to continue to go to those schools where they are teaching this stuff and be comfortable. I couldn't do it. So the logical step for me will be to remove my child from school completely and teach him at home. To me, that would be the logical choice, because at that point you are removing the school system from your business and your children's business, and they're learning what you want them to learn, not what the school wants them to learn. Because once you give your child over to these teachers in these schools, now you're putting your child's lives and you're putting your child's psychology in the hands of these schools and these superintendents. These people don't care about your children. Okay, now you have teachers that might care about your children, but think about it. If your teacher cared about the children, then why would they teach this stuff to them? Why would they think it's okay to teach your child how to touch shit sexually? You know what I mean? And that's one thing we have to look out for, because don't think that this won't reach the United States. They already got these classes. They're teaching homophilia, homophobic, homo shit in the schools already in California. In sex ed, they're teaching kids about dildos and licking each other and sticking up booties and shit like that. This is the type of shit they're already teaching in California and other states. Yeah, you can opt out of it, but how many parents actually know that you can opt out? That you can opt your children out of learning that shit in California? Anything about they're teaching them about gender neutrality and there's 57 genders, all this bullshit. I mean, come on. But this is what happens when you allow your children to be caught up in the system. You're allowing them to teach your children their way, and so this is the result. Your children come home and they're touching themselves, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing, little boy, little girl?" And they're like, "Oh, this is what the teacher taught me." And now you're like dumbfounded. You're surprised that some shit like this could happen. No. Don't be surprised. I mean, they're teaching kids all kind of shit. They're children. I mean, teachers can't help but to inject their personal bullshit into the teaching. Their personal beliefs are always going to shine through when they're teaching your children. So that's another thing you have to be careful of. What you allow your children to be exposed to is up to you. And when you release them for 8 hours a day to the school system, well, they're going to be subjected to whatever the school system wants them to be subjected to, whether it's legal or not. I don't know if I told you guys about this, but in California, in LAUSD, an entire classroom. But apparently he had been at it for like 20 years. And when teachers or when parents had suspicions and they brought the suspicions to the district superintendent or whatever the case may be, it got swept under the rug. But the only reason he actually got caught and got prosecuted and all that is because they found pictures in his house. Somebody found pictures in his house of him of all the students laying on the ground and him doing all kind of shit to the children. We're talking about young children that are impressionable and 9 times out of 10 can't speak up for themselves, because that's what the schools are teaching them. The schools are teaching them to be obedient, don't question, don't talk back, don't, you know what I mean? You teaching them that yourself. You know, oh, don't talk back to me, don't do this, don't do that. Well, you're teaching them how to be order followers and obeyers. You're teaching them to obey. You know, when my child asks a question or questions me, if I can't give them a sound answer or a logical answer to that question, then I ain't got no business telling them to do what I told them to do. You're teaching them how to be independent from as early as possible. Now you're teaching them to respect you, to that you know what's good for them, that you're not going to tell them anything that's going to cause them harm. You still want them to listen to you. You still want them to do as you ask. But if they question what you ask, then you shouldn't be upset with that. You should be like, look, this is why. All right. And then you explain it to them like, I told you to do this because this, that, and the third. Now you're going to go ahead and do it. Okay, then they go do it. But it's okay for them to question. But we're not teaching our children to question. We're teaching our children to just obey and fear us. You know, we're yelling at them, we're whooping them, we're all this other shit, you know, and we're not explaining to the children, because children are impressionable. They're like sponges, right? And in the early ages, that's the best time to explain to them how life works. You think I talk to my children. I don't talk to my children like kids, like my youngest daughter, who's about to be 1 year old. I don't say goo goo gaga woo 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 boo boo boo. No, I talk to her like like she can understand, like a regular conversation, like I'm talking to you guys. You know? And it looks crazy, right? It might look crazy to some people, but no, I'm talking to her as though she should. Hey, I'd say, Kalasia, now you need to stop doing that. I talk to her like I have a conversation with her. She's very intelligent. You know, that's how all my children are. My oldest daughter is a smart ass like me. She's a smart ass. She's sarcastic. At 9 years old, you know, she's witty. I mean, and so is my 7-year-old daughter. She's just a little more quiet. She's more like her mother. She's more reserved and, you know, withdrawn, and she's a bit of a introvert. But she can also be sarcastic and a smart ass too. Just not as overtly as my oldest daughter. You know? And that's how you want them to think on their feet. You want them to be able to see that wit, that sarcasm. It takes a lot of brain function. It takes a lot of to be sarcastic and to be witty and shit. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of maneuvering with your mind, you know. And so when you introduce a child like that into the world, because that's what you're doing when you send them to school, you're introducing them to the world, to that part of the world, and they're going to learn from these teachers. They're going to sit there, and they are going to be taught. You go to school, you're taught to be to class on time. You're taught to sit there, and you're taught to obey. You're taught to be institutionalized. You're taught to be institutionalized. You're taught to sit there. You know, it's an institution. The school is an institution. The school shouldn't be school and learning. School should not be an institution. It should be an experience. It should be an experience on that social justice warrior bullshit, right?